Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's GTA 5 video, we are going to be comparing the brand new Deathbike that was added in the Arena War update to the Oppressor and the Oppressor Mk2, probably the two most popular weaponized bikes we have in the game. So the Deathbike, a lot of people are saying, is the most powerful vehicle to come out of the Arena War update, which is shocking because it's not even at the start a new vehicle. It actually comes from the Gargoyle. So let's talk about that right now. The Gargoyle is $120,000. Its trade price is $90,000. And again, the upgrade to either the Apocalypse version, Future Shock, or Nightmare is going to be a little over $1 million. So when it's all said and done, this vehicle is about $1.2 million to buy the Gargoyle and then upgrade it to the Deathbike, which, as you guys can see here, is pretty menacing looking. So how does that compare to the Oppressor and the Oppressor Mk2? Well, let's talk about their prices for start. For starters, the Oppressor Mk2 has a price of $3,890,250 without the trade price, and the trade price is $2,950,000. So no matter how you slice it, the Oppressor is going to be a more expensive option. And then comparing that to the original Oppressor, its price is $3,524,500, with the trade price being $2,650,000. So once again, no matter how you slice it, they are both more expensive than the new Deathbike, with the Oppressor Mk2 being the most expensive of the bunch, the Oppressor just slightly under that, and the Deathbike way further under that. Now, a couple of other interesting things to note here regarding where they're stored. So the Deathbike, as you guys know, is bought, purchased, and stored in the Arena Workshop. That is where it has to be customized. However, once it becomes the Deathbike, it can be stored in other locations too. It can be stored in like a normal garage or anything like that. The Oppressor Mk2 is stored in the Terabyte, so that's something you sort of have to have as well, and that's where it's fully customized as well. So if you do not own a Terabyte, you're going to be at a severe disadvantage when it comes to fully upgrading this, and the Oppressor is going to require a MOC or a Avenger in order to fully customize this vehicle. And it can be stored in really any location too. So now that we've got details on where to buy these vehicles and the prices, let's start with our first test of the day, and that is going to be our speed test. So the first test we did was going to be without boosting, because that's one of the big differences between the Deathbike and the Oppressor. The Deathbike does not have any boost on there. So we did our first one without boost, and it is still at a clear disadvantage, the Deathbike. Now, the Oppressor Mk2 is by far the fastest. When this thing is hovering on land, it is ridiculously quick. So that is by far and away our winner. The Deathbike and the Oppressor had a good battle for a bit, but the Oppressor eventually did edge it out. So as far as land bikes go, the Deathbike today is going to be the slowest of all your options. Now, I wanted to run this test one more time because I truly was shocked to not only see how fast the Oppressor Mk2 was, but also how slow the Deathbike was. I thought it would be a little bit quicker than that, and we ended up getting the same results here. The Deathbike seems to have a little bit quicker acceleration than the Oppressor Mk2, but at the end of the day, the Oppressor and the Oppressor Mk2 are both just way faster in terms of top speed. So if speed is your thing, the Deathbike is not going to be the way to go, and it's certainly not going to be the way to go if you're using the boost. And that's one of the big differences between the Deathbike and the Oppressors. The Deathbike does not have a rocket thruster on the back, whereas both versions of the Oppressor do. And if you activate those, it makes them incredibly powerful, and they're essentially unable to be stopped. Now, the Deathbike does have nitrous, it does have NOS, but that is slightly different in my opinion than the rocket thruster on the back of both of those vehicles. And that's even something we tested here, utilizing the nitrous feature of the Deathbike, and it still didn't help. It's also something you can't activate instantaneously. Like the Oppressors can activate their rocket thrusters from standstill. The Deathbike sort of has to get going a little bit before you can use the nitrous effect. So bottom line, at the end of the day, the Deathbike is the slowest of all the options here. So if speed is what you're going for, this is something you probably should not invest in. So the next thing I want to talk about here is the weapons. What are the weapons like on these bikes? Well, the Oppressor and the Oppressor Mk2 only have 2 weapon options. They have the 50 cal machine guns, and then they have the missiles. Whereas the Deathbike only has 1 option. Well, really 2 options, but it's really the same thing. The 50 cal minigun, or you've got the 40 watt lasers that you can put on there. And because I have the Future Shock version, that's exactly what I have. So I would say that the edge here in the weapon department is going to go to the Oppressors. Now, the only difference here is that the Oppressors do have missiles that can run out. Now, the Deathbike doesn't have missiles, so it's kind of hard to put that against the Oppressor, but at least the guns on the Deathbike will not run out. So you do have an unlimited amount of that. Now, another thing the Deathbike has that the Oppressors do not is the sort of, I want to say passive weapons, but I'm not sure if that's the right way to describe it. So the spikes on the wheels and the blades that extend on the outside, those can kill people. They can pop tires, they can inflict damage on other people and cars. That's something the Oppressors cannot do. The only really thing they could do was, sort of bat someone backwards with the boost function they have on their rocket engine. But I really wouldn't consider that a weapon. And I'm really not too sure how effective like the spikes or the blades are. They are sort of just secondary, but it is something that the Oppressors don't have. Now, the next thing I wanted to test here, and this is pretty obvious and straightforward, is there any bullet resistance or armor explosive resistance to any of these bikes? And the answer is no, at least when it comes to explosives. They all explode with 1 RPG, homing missile, grenade, etc. So none is going to be able to survive. However, there is a distinct difference with the Deathbike. If you fully upgrade the Deathbike, you see that sort of shield it has on the back? That is fully bulletproof, which means if someone hits that with bullets, you are not going to receive any damage. So that is a big difference right there in that, at least from the back, and I know it's a small shield, you are fully protected from any oncoming fire that might happen on the Deathbike. And that's something that you can't really say for the Oppressor and the Oppressor Mk2. Now, what are some other big differences? Let's talk about the obvious ones here. The Oppressor and the Oppressor Mk2 can both fly. The Oppressor Mk2 having a permanent hover ability, with the Oppressor being able to glide for longer distance. The Deathbike certainly cannot do that. It is pretty limited to the ground. Although one clear advantage to the Deathbike is that it has way more customization than both versions of the Oppressor. And it has 3 different types that you can actually choose from too. Like all the Arena War vehicles, it can be upgraded to Apocalypse or Future Shock or Nightmare, whereas you're very limited with the options you have on the Oppressor and the Oppressor Mk2. Really, the only customization you can do is if you're going to be changing the weapons or if you're going to be changing the paint job. But as far as the Deathbike goes, there's a ton of options that you can apply. Lots of customization, obviously upgrading weapons and the like. So it does have a huge advantage in that department. So now let's talk about my final verdict on these 3 bikes. Which one is the best and which one do I think is the one that is the most powerful? And I think the answer is pretty clear. That has to be the Oppressor Mk2. It's the bike that can fly. It seems to be the fastest. It has the most powerful weaponry on there. And although it's the most expensive, you really are getting what you pay for here. I mean, this bike is insane. There's a reason it caused so much controversy when it was first introduced in the game, because of how powerful it likely was. I mean, that is justified with the price a little bit. And sort of relating that to the Deathbike, that's also why it's the cheapest. I'd put it on the lower part of the totem pole for this video. It is obviously super effective for the Arena War stuff. It's exclusive to that. That's something the Oppressors cannot take part in, but I'm also not going to fault the Oppressors for that because they came out before Arena War. It's the cheapest of the bike options. It has some very unique features, but not really practical features, like the spikes and the blades. Yeah, they're effective against NPCs, but how often are you going to be chopping someone up like another person? So that's my verdict right there. I think in order from best to worst, it goes Oppressor Mk2, Oppressor, and Deathbike. But that's also how the price goes. Most expensive is Oppressor Mk2. Least expensive is the Deathbike, and I all think they're cool and unique in their own individual ways. But anyways, that's all the information that I've got for you guys in this video today. Hopefully you did enjoy. Let me know which one of these is your favorite and what you think is the best in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys down there. If you did go on to enjoy this video though, a like rating would of course be awesome. And subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new or you like daily GTA and Red Dead Redemption 2 videos like this. With all the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.